We're in a forest very close to Hampshire. This looks like the most probable place a thylacine could hide, and we're investigating Hampshire because that's where Anne had her sighting.
There's also been a whole number of different sightings from both farmers and forestry workers as well as tourists.
One of the techniques we're going to use is a stealth cam. We're going to set up a stealth cam in the forest here, and we'll probably bait it with a bit of meat. Up high where devils can't get it, hopefully a thylacine can.
And sometime after sunset, we're going to go spotlighting to see what sort of prey animals are about and whether there'd be a system that would be sufficient to support a top order predator. Well, I thought we could take some of this equipment and head out independently. You go east, I go west, and we see what we can see.
Okay.
So what I've got for us is a couple of walkies, so that we can keep in contact with each other. Like, less is more, so only communicate if absolutely necessary, because they're fairly loud, so it's going to scare everything off if we do communicate, but better safe than sorry.
Good.
What I've brought along today is just a digital voice recorder with a dead cat windsock. If we can hear anything unusual, just hit the center button, record, automatic gain, so it'll just automatically adjust. This one's interesting, green light, and marsupials are supposedly not able to see, like most animals, the red and particularly the green part of the spectrum.
Good.
So that light in theory shouldn't disturb them anywhere near as much as that light.
Okay.
But what I've found using this before is that your depth perception goes, so you're much more likely to trip over stuff when you're using that. So you might need a white light as well.
Okay.
So let's saddle up.
One.
Yeah, this bad boy, 240, it shines about 1 kilometre under white light. So it runs off 12 volt. With this shield on it, you get about 200-300 metres. And it's nice beaming light. You should be able to pick out any animal from a reasonable distance away. This would be invaluable, particularly from the vehicle.
Cool. Excellent.
Let's saddle up, suit up.
Kick it off then. Let's go.
Humans are about the only species that is scared of the dark. Most animals come out at night, particularly dawn and dusk. So spotlighting is a viable way to pick up these animals by using a red shield or a green shield on a torch and moving quietly and gently through the bush. You can usually pick up these species by their eye shine, hone in on them and identify them.
Been out here for a while now, not really seeing much at all. I think it's time to move on.
Very little going on. Pretty dense habitat. We're sort of up around the 800-900 metres, so we're well into subalpine, and it's a pretty wet environment, so there's a dense canopy above us, and with a dense canopy you don't get much light at ground level, so you're not getting much grazing available, and therefore with no grazing you don't get a lot of prey animals. Your concentration or your population density of predators is going to be a lot lower. Copy that, Bill.
It's pretty dead here, not really seeing anything at all.
Yeah, I was just thinking exactly the same thing.
Shall we move to a location where maybe there's grazing possibility for wallabies?
Yeah, Kawakawa, there's a much more open area. Pale grass, native grasses, that might be a better opportunity.
Well, predators would follow the prey, so we should be following the prey as well, eh?
Agree. Affirmative. Should we pack up and head to a new location?
Okay, agreed.
I'll meet you back at Camp Sasquatch.
Alright then, Frodo. I'll meet you back at Camp Hobbit.
Over and out.
A lot of thylacine sightings are made early in the evening by people driving. So Bill and I have set up night vision camera in his Wild Bill mobile, and we're going to go for a drive along some pretty remote gravel roads to see what we can see.
Driving around the roads in and around Hampshire where there's so many sightings. And to me, this is what we do in the hot climate when we're looking for reptiles. It's the same technique, except this time we're looking for marsupials, and particularly, hopefully, a big marsupial. Food for a thylacine.
That's food for pretty much everything in Tasmania.
Yeah.
Why may we not be seeing many animals, Willie?
Looks like plantation to the right of me, which, unless the animals have come to reclaim this territory, a lot of the forest practices, basically they're trying to eliminate as much wildlife as they possibly can.
As a general rule, plantation doesn't sustain a lot of wildlife because it's a monoculture. As far as the wallabies are concerned, it may well be something like corn or potatoes for all that it can support them. So ultimately you need a nice diversity of different species at different heights and different ages to support wildlife, and plantation just doesn't tend to do that.
Melons everywhere, just everywhere. You get the same species of paddy melon out there. There's so many of them just out here on the sides of the road where people often have the sightings of thylacines, and yet when we were in the dense forest there, like this pristine forest, there wasn't as many. They're obviously attracted to the grass on the sides of the road, so I can sort of see if there were thylacines around, I can imagine this would be a good way of seeing them. It's amazing that there's not more wallabies here. This is a much more remote area.
Thinking that because this is a remote road and it's also gravel, the forest does come right to the edge. There's no verge, there's no clearance to the side. And what Bill was saying, like, ultimately there's not the grasslands or the grazing at the side of the road, so the wallabies are sort of much more evenly dispersed rather than just concentrated on the road edge.
We've now just moved to another location where it's much more opened up, more grass around for the wallabies to eat, so we're seeing much more wallabies. So where there's the food source for a thylacine, it's more likely to be a thylacine here, if they exist. I thought that was a wallaby. freezing cold out here. I see something ahead of me. Can't quite make it out. What is that? We've been out here for a hell of a long time. It's cold. It's a Tassie winter. We've found that some of the open areas are better than the really deep, dark forest areas for actually seeing any sort of wildlife. The deeper you go in the forest, the more spread out the wildlife is, and it's like a needle in a haystack. Whereas in the open areas, it's a much more high concentration of food source for any animal. Whether they could hunt out here or not, I don't know, but we'd probably be looking more at very remote areas where there is forest meeting open plains.
I've always been a fairly firm believer that the thylacine is more sort of a grasslands animal than a dense rainforest animal, and that holds true for the other species like Tasmanian devil. So ultimately, I think next time we go out, we should look for an area that has like forest meeting grassland and sort of set up along that boundary, along that tree line, and just see what we see. They're probably using the forest as cover, grassland to hunt.
Well, let's call it a night, since it's going to be morning soon.
Call it a morning, you mean, Bill?
Yeah, bloody hell.